Well, my body absolutely needs a rest day today. It's been, I don't know, 5 months of Saturdays doing 7 to 12 hour runs in the mountains. And I just need a rest. So we're going to discover something pretty obvious today. Sometimes the most obvious runs are and hikes are the ones that are right under your nose. And here we are in the South Climb parking lot, and we're looking straight up at Cathedral Rock. It's a 1.3 mile hike or run, and it was right in front of our nose the whole time. I've passed this trail many times as I go up the South Climb Trail to Griffith Peak, Mount Charleston, the Charleston Loop, Harris Mountain, which, by the way, is right over there, pretty much just to the left of those trees and behind them. So here you get an idea of where we're going. Now, the cool thing about this little 1.3 mile hike is that when you get to the top of this rock, you're going to be able to see the whole south and north ridge of of Kyle Canyon. And this will perhaps open up some additional possibility as far as other routes to take up the canyon that are beyond the main trail routes. So we're going to go up Cathedral Rock, we're going to look around, and by the way, what I see from here, here's a good shot of Mummy Mountain. This is actually a very beautiful place because you're at the base of a lot of cliffs that just have beautiful stone sides to these cliffs. And so anyway, we're heading up to Cathedral Rock today, 1.3 miles. Okay, I've traveled only about 1/8 of a mile, and here we have the split off between the South Climb Trail that goes up to Charleston Peak, Griffith Peak, and Harris Mountain, and on the other hand to Cathedral Rock to the right. And so here we are. Let's get a further look here. So you can see we're I head down this way to head up to Charleston Peak. This trail gets me up to Cathedral Rock. This trail back to the parking lot. There's the parking lot, so you see we haven't come very far at all. But here we go, up toward Cathedral Rock. Okay, we've traveled another 1/8 of a mile, and there's Cathedral Rock. And the reason I stopped here is that there's a couple split offs. One goes to Echo Trails, Trailhead, and Little Falls Junction. So I'll have to check this out sometime, see where it actually goes. And then here, back to the parking lot, Charleston Trail Junction, and the Trailhead, and then up to Cathedral Rock. So this goes up to Cathedral Rock, and we're continuing on up. And here's what Cathedral Rock looks like at this point. Okay, things are coming into view now. Here's Cathedral Rock, and I'm not sure that goes all the way up to the that little canyon goes all the way up to the top of the ridge. No, there's a long way to go after that, but this could be an interesting way to head up to the south climb, the south ridge of Kyle Canyon. I'll try that sometime. And here we have another beautiful rock. A lot of beautiful, I'm sure it's got a name, a lot of beautiful rocks here. That's one of the beautiful things about Kyle Canyon. And then over here, you can, looking into the sun, there's Harris Mountain. So once again, another 8th mile. This is going to be a slow trip. The reason that I'm doing this trip today also is that I started to develop a slight knee injury a couple weeks ago, wearing my knee braces here, new pair of shoes. You can look on the Trail Tips page, and I'm going to record a video on dealing with injuries and just how the early warning systems and then all the different things that I do to work through an injury. But anyway, that's why we're going a total of 2.6 miles today instead of 15 to 20 miles. Okay, so onward we go. A little more clearance, and now you can see, well, Cathedral Rock, Mummy Mountain, and Fletcher Peak. And then area leading up this ridge, at least. We'll try that sometime. Beautiful cliff face. This is actually an excellent trail, either for a rest hike or if you're just getting into shape. Beautiful views for the effort that you put into this 1.3 mile hike. And here we have Cathedral Rock. Looks like the trail actually circles around the back side of the rock, and then it's going to head up, and I think I can see a saddle there. So I'm gonna imagine the trail goes up that saddle and then on up to the top of Cathedral Rock. And are we looking at another trail? Okay, this would be a trail here to look for in the future. This must be one that heads up Kyle Canyon, maybe up to the south climb or the south ridge of Kyle Canyon. We don't know, but I'll tell you what, we'll try that on another semi-rest day. And then of course behind the bench, and by the way, lots of benches. This is the 3rd bench every 1/8 of a mile at least. There's a bench to rest on, so making this a really nice climb if you're getting into shape, which is and you're up in this altitude, which is going to give you double bang for your buck as far as conditioning. We're probably about 7,500 to 8,000 feet at this point. I'm going to guess we're closing in on 8,000 feet right now. This trail, one thing about it, it does go straight up, and so it's actually a very good conditioning trail. So anyway, there you have it. We're heading up, probably go across that saddle that we saw a moment ago. Okay, got my altimeter working, and we are at 7,800, and probably, I think I'm about 300 feet low, so we're probably at 8,100 feet at this point. So continuing on up. Okay, continuing on up. Here's the backside of Cathedral Rock with Mummy Mountain and the toe in view there, and then you can barely see the north ridge of Kyle Canyon. And this is actually the route that goes straight from Mummy Mountain to the upper North Ridge Trail. Cuts off a lot of distance if you're making a Mummy, Charleston, Griffith Peak circuit. and adding Lee Peak in, by the way. Okay, so anyway, continuing on, and now you see that saddle coming into view. So I believe we're going to ascend this trail and then cross the saddle and then go on up to the top of Cathedral Rock. By the way, a little more about this trail. Very popular trail here, and it's actually, if you're just starting out to hike, or you want a hike that has awesome views for just a 1.3 mile trip, 2.6 mile round trip, Cathedral Rock is the hike for you. And in addition, when it's snowy in the winter, up higher, or late fall, early spring, this is a great trail to, it should be free of snow, relatively free. And in addition, another great feature of this trail is that you're hiking or ascending very healthy ascent, so that's a good strength builder. And another element is you're up at 8,000 to 8,500 feet, which helps condition you for the altitude, maybe in those early spring, late fall days, well, early spring especially, when you want to start conditioning yourself for the higher climbs. So this is actually turning out to be a pretty cool little experience. Okay, here's the third little potential break-off on the Cathedral Rock Trail, and I believe there is probably going to be some route that is going to be an alternate route to lead up to the South Climb Trail, the Upper South Climb Trail. There, I believe, is one of the viewpoints on the South Climb Trail. That rock up there behind the trees. And so this little trail, Cathedral Rock Trail, does bear some additional exploration in the future. And it is a beautiful little trail. Very well maintained. And we're in the ponderosa pines here, or pinyon pines, one of the two. Beautiful wooded trail. And so everything about this trail is fantastic. Okay, onward. Okay, falling in love with this trail even more. I think when I'm in my mid 80s, early 90s, that this will be a trail I can still do and get some beautiful, beautiful views. Hopefully I can still do it at that time. Anyway, the forest here is beautiful. The trail is great. Healthy incline, just realize that. But, you could work up to it. Lots of rest spots along the way. I've probably passed, every 16th of a mile almost. I've passed a bench or a log that you could sit on and rest. So this is just, anyone can hike this trail and experience tremendous beauty in the wilderness. So yeah, you can see Cathedral Rock here, and behind it Mummy Mountain, and to the right is Fletcher Peak. So some really great things are beginning to come into view here. Look down the trail. Okay, onward. Okay, I just went a little off trail, and here I see a trail that that goes up in the kind of a western direction, and What else? Another trail, maybe this reconnects with the Cathedral Rock Trail. And we'll find out. But there are a number of additional trails that break off of this Cathedral Rock Trail, and we'll try them all at some point. But just to say, there's some interesting stuff up here on the way to Cathedral Rock. So anyway, just a quick note. Okay, here's a little spot where you can look back up that canyon that goes to a high point, and I don't know if that's a false summit or if you can actually reach the top of the South Ridge from there. One of these days we'll find out. I think some of those trails that broke off almost have to go up this canyon or the one just to the left, because those are the only two routes. However, some of the other trails may actually lead upwards by this route. So, you know, it's really interesting. There may be other ways to get to the top of the South Climb or the South Ridge than just the traditional South Climb trail. I don't know, because I think the ridge we're looking at up here is not the upper ridge, and so I'm suspecting that when you get to the top of this ridge that we're looking at, that you may be faced with a cliff or some obstacle. We don't know. However, one of these days we will go up those two canyons and just see where they lead, and if there is an alternate way up. I've heard that there is an alternate way up to the top of the Kyle Canyon South Ridge, and then on up to, speaking of it, on up to Mount Charleston. There is a good shot of Mount Charleston. So, lot of potential routes opening up here above Cathedral Rock on the Cathedral Rock Trail. We're going to test these out. Here we are at what I'll call the southern summit of Cathedral Rock, about 100 feet from the northern summit. It's not a huge area up here, but yeah, what can you see here? There's Mount Charleston. The upper north ridge of Kyle Canyon. Here's Lee Peak. And then from just below Lee Peak over to the summit of Mummy Mountain, there's an upper cutoff trail that goes right along that top ridge, as opposed to descending and then having to reascend. Let's see. Let's take a closer look here. You can see, yeah, there is that avalanche ridge that we climb to ascend Mummy Mountain if we're coming from Trail Canyon. And if we're coming down from Mount Charleston, we just stay on the upper ridge between Lee Peak and Mummy Mountain. We're working on an ascent that or descent that goes down the eastern side of Mummy Mountain, and then takes us over to Fletcher Peak right here. which would enable a longer circuit. Right now I've done Griffith Peak, Charleston, Lee, and Mummy in one circuit. I could add potentially the Fletcher Peak to that circuit, and the way I would do that is just go up the Trail Canyon Trailhead, which is actually right down there. I kind of like this rock. You can see everything. So I'd go up starting at the Trail Canyon Trailhead, and I'd head over to Fletcher Peak first, and then cross behind Mummy Mountain and then up the backside of Mummy Mountain, across the top of that ridge there, the north ridge of Kyle Canyon, and over to Lee Peak, and then across to Charleston Peak, and then along the top ridge, which is behind this area, and we'll look at this area in just a moment, along the southern ridge of Kyle Canyon over to Griffith Peak, and I believe almost that there's a view of Griffith Peak right there. So that's pretty cool. At least part of Griffith Peak. And that brings to mind another circuit that we did just last week, where we went up the South Climb Trail to Griffith Peak and then headed down the back ridge of Griffith Peak, skirted that cliff, headed up to Harris Mountain, and then straight down into the return trail. I think I came through, actually, I came through to this lower parking area. There's a picnic area here, and to get to that picnic area, boy, I had to skirt the Rainbow subdivision, which is right down in this area, and believe me, that was a little brutal. But yeah, I came down this, what ridge did I come down from Harris Mountain? I actually came down the ridge. It's not the one to the far left, but it's a little more central here. And I just headed down and around at the bottom, and then skirted the top of the Rainbow subdivision down there, and then over to this parking area, and then back to the South Climb Trailhead, which, as a matter of fact, let's take a look. We've never looked straight down on the South Climb Trailhead. There it is. There is our starting point today, South Climb Trailhead. Okay, so anyway, now, and there's a really cool restaurant down just above Charleston Village, below the South Climb Trailhead. Live music, should try it sometime. So what else am I seeing there? There is a Harris, not Harris, Fletcher trail that starts somewhere down in this area, and we'll take a look at that and see if it actually gets up to Fletcher Peak. I have my doubts because I've been up there before. A lot of cliff dead ends, but there's got to be a way, and we'll try it sometime. But it definitely won't be the streamlined route. Here you can see the beautiful homes in Charleston Village area. So some really nice views around here. And then let's just walk up to what we'll call the south, the south peak of Cathedral Rock. And as you can see, it's not that very far. But what it does is it promises to give us a little more of a view of what's up here. So we're just gonna walk up this little rocky section. Make sure I'm not staring in my camera. Go over the edge of something. And here we are, skirting the top of Cathedral Rock and approaching the north side of Cathedral Rock summit. And I don't know, the view from this side is not entirely the best, at least not yet. Let's see, it looks like something's opening up here. See, somebody has put a cairn here to mark the spot. Okay, up we go. Well, there is a nice little summit here. So here we're standing on the northern summit of Cathedral Rock. And so here you'll look at Harris Mountain. We skirt around the backside of that cliff at the just above the saddle that goes up to Harris Mountain. And then take this ridge up to the top of Griffith Peak, which you cannot see from this view. And then here's the upper, well, this is not the upper ridge of the South Ridge that goes up to Mount Charleston, but now I see one of the viewpoints up here, which means that theoretically, if you can get to this viewpoint, which it looks like it's possible up one of these canyons, that you could then ascend beyond the viewpoint and end up on the upper South Ridge. So that must be how it is done. And then, of course, looking over Mount Charleston, and then you saw the other views to the south just a moment ago. So yeah, there are some possibilities up here, and the best one looks like it's right up this canyon here, up to the top there. And then perhaps there's a connector that leads up to the upper South Ridge of Kyle Canyon. Okay, and beautiful cliff system here. Right in front of us, might be blocked by the sun. So, okay. And there's the highway that we took to get up to this point, to get up to the trailhead. It leads down to I-95. So, okay, that's pretty much Cathedral Rock Summit. You've seen most of the viewpoints from here, and yeah, just take a look at this. You can see ridges that go down from Harris Mountain, and the ones more toward the left are the ones that I take. In fact, there's one, the ridge just to the right of the left side ridge is the one that I take to head down. It takes me down from the top of Harris Mountain back to the Rainbow Subdivision and down to the end of this experience, which is right below the South Climb Trailhead. And easy walk through that parking area. Okay, we are going to call this a day for Cathedral Rock. Beautiful, beautiful hike.